Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome aboard. My show is about celebrating artists and their body of worth. What makes a great artist? How do they get from point A to point B and beyond? And I am very excited that I'm going to sit down today and talk with Bill Smitrovich. I can't even imagine 80s television without your face popping up all the time. You are such a great actor.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled that you're here. But as I said, my show is about celebrating your body of worth and all that includes. And I want to thank you, first of all, for taking the time to be here today. We are in the midst of a pandemic. Today marks 403 days since our theaters shut down. And of course, that means movie theaters, everything across the country. I want to ask how you are, Bill, really, in the midst of this crazy time we find ourselves in.
Well, I'm luckier than most. Let's put it that way. Am I getting feedback here?
I'm not getting any feedback. You're perfect.
Okay, great. Listen, everything is relative. And, sure, we face our struggles, and we have my 6-year-old granddaughter who lives with us faces struggles. She's on the internet for her first year of school, and she just went to her first day of school yesterday in school, and she came back, and I must say, quote, "This was the greatest day of my life."
At 6 years old, that's wonderful.
Well, there you go. Everything is in perspective somehow and some way, but we all have to be resilient during these times. And, actors are notably a little more resilient than some because we have to be. And no, it's been difficult doing auditions, and meetings on Zoom. Mm-hmm. But we did use the opportunity to do a Zoom movie with some very talented people a few months ago called We Are Gathered Here Together. And that should be out fairly soon. I'll let everybody know on my Facebook page.
And mine as well, please.
Yeah, thank you. And so, we're getting by. The really great, my wife got back into acting again, and after raising our children and me, and she is booking commercials, and she does these films for AFI. She's auditioning for TV shows now. She's a fabulous actress. We met in New York in a play that I helped produce, and one hot summer in New York, and it's great to see her back in there again because she's a wonderful actress. She studied with Uta Hagen and HB, wow. And she knows what she's doing, and it's just it's a wonderful light in her life right now, and mine, because I'm so proud of her.
Well, that's wonderful. And what is your wife's name?
Shaw Purnell.
Yeah, so we'll give a shout out
for asking. Shaw Purnell, Purnell.
So going back,
I just want to also let me say hello to all my friends who I know are watching in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, and my relatives. My wonderful sister in Stratford, Connecticut. I know you were talking. You lived in Connecticut yourself, right?
No, I live in Rockland County. I'm just below Nyack. Have you ever worked in Nyack?
No, but I had a girlfriend that lived in New City.
Okay, very close to where I live.
In college. No, I never worked there. And you mentioned the theaters. I'd like to say that, when we get done with this, regional theaters all over the country will need your support, and it that kind of support is a win-win for everybody. It's a way to feel your community, see some wonderful actors, to enjoy life again. And the theater is a wonderful way to ignite your inner chi, whatever it may be, your life force. It's a good connection to that. If you go to the theater, it can spark some things in your mind and your heart, hopefully.
Well, I want to go back once again to when everything shut down, and I want to ask what your schedule looked like prior to the pandemic. What was on the horizon for you? And did you stop in your tracks, as most of us did, or were you able to just pull up your bootstraps and get going again?
Well, yeah, I mean, all of that, but it was a lot of staying at home in the beginning. We did a lot of puzzles and games, all the family and everything. And then, that was a phase. We went through that sort of sequestered necessity, if you will. And, just trying to figure out all of this and people's reactions to it, and continuing to see the division that was in our country over a vaccine, over a mask, protecting other people. It was really sad to see people not wanting to protect other people.
Speaking of which, that's your agent calling. You've got a new job.
Well, I don't know. It might be. I can't talk right now. All right, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Happen. We are live, everyone. So if you've got any comments or questions, put them in the sidelines and we'll address those.
Hey, where'd you go? There you are.
The funny thing about what all of us are going through, the divorce rate has gone up and some couples have gotten closer together. What is the biggest impact that the past year has had on you personally, beyond the obvious that everyone's going through?
Well, caring for my granddaughter and in this time, and my daughter who lives with us, and my son, we're all under one roof here.
Now, where is your home base now?
Woodland Hills, California.
Okay.
And so I'd say that I'm really thankful for the government help during this time, not only for me, but for everybody out there who might be struggling. But that was huge. And, so much of this was based around that division, that our inability to see that we're all in this together. And we have to find some common ground here. If we're the United States and we're a country that welcomes immigrants, well, that's what we are. That's right. How we built this great country. And I get a little nuts over that, but
well, Bill, I'm right there with you. So if you want to get nuts, I'll go along with the ride for you.
Well, thanks. I don't want to bore people with my politics.
A friend of mine says we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. We have to, and the things that you're pointing out right now are so important that we really have to have empathy with one another. And I think that's the biggest thing that's been missing in our narrative over the last few years.
And our media seems to fuel that same thing over and over again, and it's unfortunate because they have the power to give people information and news that is helpful to them, that is somehow understanding that we are all in this together. And here's what might be some helpful news for you, or something that would uplift your spirit, rather than, it's always coming at us with all kinds of things that are negative and not filled with a lot of positivity. There is positivity out there.
Mm-hmm.
Bill
Maher did a monologue a few weeks ago about all of the Academy Award nominated films this year, all worthy contenders, of course,
yes,
but none of them are films that uplift the spirit. They're about angst and, strife and struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now more than ever, we need that escape. And that's what I look for.
I agree. Or we need films that inform. Somehow inform our human spirit.
Mm-hmm.
What is our human condition? Let's investigate that. And that's why I'm an actor. That's why every actor out there who's an actor knows that's our job. And
well, I want to ask you a question on that. I know that you came into the profession later in life.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your parents, Stanley and Anna. I think
William Stanley Smitrovich Sr.
And when you were a young boy, did you live in a household that had the arts around? Were you exposed to it? Or was that the exception in your household?
Jackie Gleason was about the height of art. The arts that came into our living room.
That's fine. That's fine.
Red Skelton, Jackie Gleason, Ed Sullivan. No, listen, I grew up all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
When I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I left there with the family, and then moved to Phoenix and Tucson for a while, and then we settled in Albuquerque, New Mexico. By that time, I was in 4th grade. And I discovered bowling. So we all went with the family, and we all went bowling. And my dad and I, we loved that, and it was a great family thing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved from Albuquerque to El Cajon, California. My dad was a tool and die maker looking for a better job in the right climate for the asthma that he had. And we settled in El Cajon, California, which is right outside of San Diego, for, I'd say, 5 or 6 years, 1955 to 61. Great years. I mean, they were American graffiti years.
Yes.
And I swear some of that movie was shot in El Cajon. Because it looked, the drive-in theater, the car hop, everything. But El Cajon was, a lot of things happened to me as a young boy in El Cajon. The first of which was I went to a place called John Ballantyne Grade School. And I met a man there named John Boudelier. And he had just passed a year or so ago, and
wow.
Probably one of the greatest teachers I've ever had. And when we were in school, we had 2 classes in a row with Mr. Boudelier, and he taught us how to make crystal radios, how to do photography. We had our own dark room. We would do these wonderful, and then he had a ranch that was pretty close to our house. And he would let me come there and visit. And he was a very, just wonderful, love life kind of guy. So he brewed his own beer, went to Tijuana every weekend, loved the bullfights, had some animals. But during that time, I walked past the room, and they were having a talent show. And they were looking for people. And I kind of poked in, and I said, "Are you still looking for people?" I'm new. I'm always was kind of, the guy that had to go out and look for it. So she said, "Yeah, what we're looking for now is the MC for our show." I said, "Wow, great. What's an MC?" master ceremonies. She said, you know, we're trying to look for Ed Sullivan, an imitator kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd watched Ed Sullivan. I mean, come on. So I went in there and I did my little, you know, and they loved it. So I got to be MC for this talent show. And it was the only time my dad saw me on stage.
Wow. Wow.
And it was a funny thing. I was making up ad libs during the show to keep things going. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just, you know, it just kind of
was instinctive.
I had to entertain. I was out there, you know, doing the thing. And we were having so much fun that, and they had so much fun with me that when I was out there, the curtains were closed. And it was like this moment happened where two hands reached underneath the curtains behind me. And they tied my shoelaces together. Now, I knew they were doing it, but I didn't let on to it. Even, you know, it's great. I'm going. So I'm just doing my thing, and I know that they're tying my shoes, and I was just thinking to myself, how am I going to make this funny? You know? And, you know, I went like this, and I went like that, and it was just hilarious. Had a great time. In fact, two girls asked for my autograph, and I signed it Ed Mulligan.
Ed Mulligan.
Ed Mulligan. That was my name, Ed Mulligan. But so, you know, that was a lot. But mostly I was into sports and played football.
But that didn't lead to other opportunities for you to do this.
No, not at that time. No. But it was in my back pocket. You know, I was just anyway. And so after about 12 different schools, about 9 different schools until I got to University of Bridgeport.
Well, let me ask you, with you moving around so much growing up, I mean, were you able to develop lifelong friendships that have remained friends to this day? Or was that a difficult thing to do with you being on the move a lot?
You know, I did when I was in high school. I still have a lot of my high school buddies. I went to 3 different high schools. I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have any friends from Granite Hills High School in El Cajon. But while I was there, I told you about the bowling. I was on the Southern California Junior All-Star team in bowling, and I ended up being the San Diego County Junior Match Game champion at 15. So we love to travel and do sports and things like this. So when I got to Harding High School in Bridgeport, Connecticut, it was like going from a loaf of white bread into a marbled rye.
Wow.
And I loved it. I had a great time. It's tough. You had to stick up for yourself. You had to stand up for yourself, and I didn't mind doing that. So I know I got shaken down for quarters a couple of times, and I said, that's not happening. And, you know, I went up with a football team, and at that time, I was on like the squad. They didn't know who I was. So they gave me a leather helmet. But I had a great coach, Coach Miska, and I still have a lot of buddies from Bridgeport, Connecticut, the Dover AC. Shout out to all my pals. And then I went to Stratford High School. Upnell High School in Stratford, Connecticut. And I still have many friends. We've had reunions, and some very, very interesting people have come out of that class. One in particular being my friend George Lombardi, became the head of penitentiaries in the state of Missouri.
Wow.
Yeah. And created Puppies on Parole, which was putting dogs that were supposedly untrainable with prisoners. And they would keep the dog with the prisoner. They would take care of it, and it's a win-win. Both dog and man are healing.
Mhm.
And then they take the dog after they have trained him or her, and then they put it up for adoption. Isn't that great?
That's amazing. What an amazing story.
Right. And also, George has created a bakery for men and women who have been incarcerated. And they put out this fabulous baked goods. I've forgotten the name of the bakery offhand, but George is a wonderful guy. And we had and a lot of people that we played football there. And it was, I think we went undefeated one year. But then nothing happened in Bunnell that had anything to do with theater except the death of my father.
Mm.
We were bowling in a tournament in Norwalk, Connecticut, with the whole family. It was beautiful in a way. My two uncles, the front of the family, myself, my dad, we bowled a team event, singles and doubles.
Mm-hmm.
So we did our singles. My dad and I bowled doubles. Then we had the team event. So about the second frame of this first game, my dad had a massive stroke.
Wow.
And just couldn't move. And
how old were you at this moment?
he was 45. I was 70.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And he passed in Norwalk Hospital, like say less than 36 hours.
Wow.
I never left the hospital. And the sweet thing about this story is that my dad always told me when I was a young man that his dad shook his hand before he died. So I was at the hospital. I'm down the hallway. The doctor comes up and he says, "I think your dad wants to see you." Now, my dad could hardly talk at this point. Walked into the room. He reached out, grabbed my hand.
Wow.
Grabbed my hand and squeezed it. And within a minute, he was dead. But in that minute, a lot happened. I mean,
wow.
Spiritual things happened. And
well, Bill, when you write your book, I'm going to give you the title of your book. He Shook My Hand.
he shook my hand. There you go. There you go.
That's it. That I am a puddle here. Oh, what a beautiful
clip.
No, I've verklempt. I mean, when my father passed on, I got the word he had a heart attack. And I stopped everything to fly down, and he was gone before I got there. So your father gave you a gift right there.
Oh, lifetime gift.
That is such a beautiful story.
Well, thank you. And happy to have and lucky to have proud of having a father like my dad who, World War II, airborne, 82nd Airborne, jumping out of gliders behind enemy lines when he was, 19?
Wow. And but the impact that it makes on a family to have the patriarch no longer there. What did
There's a lot of good, a lot of bad.
Well, I want to talk, if you don't mind going there with me, the psyche that does for you at that age, and the life decisions that you made because of this happening. This is, these are, I earlier this past year, I interviewed this wonderful young woman, Amy Ostrecker, and she had, very severe health issues, and she died suddenly a few weeks ago. And I was so fortunate that I got a chance to sit down and talk with her. But she talks about the detours in our lives, these things that happen that we obviously don't. This past year, talk about detours is a detour. Losing your father at such an early age, the good and the bad, if you don't mind going there with us, on the impact that it makes on you as a human being.
Well, there are many things, but I say the bad was that I was young and I didn't understand a lot of what was going on around me. All of a sudden, everything's, the floor drops out. So about a year after my dad died, my mom remarried. And that was really, really hard for me and for my sister. But my sister had her own life and her own thing going on. And, but that was tough. And at that particular moment gave me the impetus to be free. And this particular freedom, this particular year as I said, I was bowling, and I used to bowl a lot for money late at night, and we have like match games. And, I saw some incredible stuff in bowling alleys at 3:00 in the morning that I can't even begin to tell you.
It's a whole other show.
Yeah, absolutely. But so I met a guy named Jack Angelicola. He was a left-handed bowler and a pool player. I was a pool player. He was a much better pool player than I. And he mentioned a friend of mine from El Cajon, California. And I went, wow, you know him? And, we started talking and said, make a long story short, we decided to hustle our way across country bowling and shooting pool. He had a Ford Fairlane, and I sold my car, took the thousands of dollars that I had, and I hit the road with Jack. I think I was 18 or 19.
And that's the song "Hit the Road, Jack." That's the.
You're quick, Richard. But one of the things, it's a funny thing. In the car, Jack bought a 45 record player that was attached to the bottom of the dash. And we had a box of 45s in the back seat that we would trade out 10 45s, every now and then. But there was springs on and it's like a record player. It's like the first cassette player only had played 45s.
Yeah, did this plug into like the lighter in the car?
Yeah, they hooked it up to the battery. It was wild. I'm listening to the Ronettes, and I'm going through Las Vegas. And I'm 19 years old. But it was pretty great.
Now, you were traveling just for the sake of just getting away and doing your own thing, with no real goal in sight. Am I correct?
That's right. I was. It didn't turn out that well. We made a little money. We had some fun in Oklahoma with a pair of twins. And
this is the movie right here.
I've tried to write it, Richard. I've tried to write it, but I wish someone out there, if they want to write a bowling road show movie, I'm the guy.
Oh my God!
But so we did that, and I was busted when I got to San Diego, and I came home with my tail between my legs, and my mom put me up and with my stepfather, and I went to work. And I went to work in Norwalk, Connecticut, in a corporation, and then worked my way up there for about a year or so. And then I decided to go to school part-time, UB, University of Bridgeport, Purple Knights. Started working my way through there, going part-time. Then I said, I'm not gonna get through college doing this part-time thing. I gotta quit. So I saved enough money to start college. And in the first year, I had a 1.2 GPR. And they were going to throw me out. And I crawled my way into the bursar's office, and I said, listen, I put all my money into this. Please give me one more semester to work this out. I can work it out. And she said, well, you'll have to have a 2.8 to bring that up to a 2.0, So I said, okay, I'm in. And I was enjoying college life. It was like new for me. I was paying for everything, so I didn't give a hell. I had some money, but I was running out. So I joined a fraternity that year out of crazy things. But that particular fraternity gave me the home, the family, frankly, that I needed. And I have lifelong friends, many of whom have passed, but that have meant the world to me in my life. And a lot of them might be watching here, especially one, Ron, who is Flynn. Just, great guys that I've known now and all my life. So being at University of Bridgeport, I was kind of a cut up, and I got, somebody said, my friend Bill Walton, not the Bill Walton, another Bill Walton, and said, why don't you be in the theater, do this thing? I got this, you could be great. I said, okay, so I did. It was The Investigation by Peter Weiss. It was about the Nuremberg trials.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, heavy. And I played this German, I was just following orders, and, so it was kind of fun. And so I did a couple other little things, and somebody said to me, hey, you ought to go and audition for Lenny. And I said, Lenny? They're doing Lenny Bruce's story? Wow, So I went down, I ran down to the theater, and they handed me a Mice and Men. And I'd never read of Mice and Men. As I said, we were not an artful family, and we didn't read a lot. So I said, okay, I took the script back the lonely hallway, sat down in the corner, and it was the first time I had wept at a piece of literature in my life. And I was minoring in special education at the time. So it gave me some insights into Lenny's disability.
Yeah.
And so I went in there, and they had a guest director. His name was Al Pia, a wonderful man, ran the Sterling Barn Theater in Stamford, Connecticut, and taught at Stanford High School. Some very, very, very famous people too. So he came in as a guest director, and I came in to do the scene with Curly's wife, where she tries to seduce me, and I, stroking her hair, and I break her neck. So I'm just like, I'm into the scene. I'm totally into it, and I'm into it, and I'm feeling this guy, and we get about almost to the end of it, and they start laughing, and I got really pissed off. And I said, how dare you laugh at this? This is a beautiful human being, and you're going to laugh. I was so emotional and everything. And I said, no, we're not laughing at you. We're laughing with you, because we just found our Lenny. Well, wow, that's right.
No acting training.
Nothing.
Didn't even know the story, and you go in.
Right. And that's
the way to do it, folks.
This is from God, right?
Absolutely.
And Al was wonderful, along with all the UB students, that's theater students who were majors, supported me. And we all remember that production to this day. And they gave me the Best Actor award. We got a lot of publicity. We moved the show to Sterling Barn Theater in Stamford, Connecticut, where I met Morris Karnofsky and Phoebe Brand.
Wow.
And Morris was my first mentor, I would say. Well, Al was my first mentor, but
I want to ask you, one of the things that those who are in the theater know, others that may not, but once you get cast in a show, there's a sense of community. There's a sense of belonging. There's a sense of family that comes along with that. And I'm still friends with people that I was in my first show with. And it's just lifelong friendships. At what point during this did you go, wait a minute, I think I'm onto something. This is the path I want to be on. And then I'm going to ask you, do you believe that the theater chose you, or do you think you chose the theater?
Well, I wish I had spent more of my time in the theater, because it started so well for me, but TV and films also started well with Michael Mann, and the things that I was doing with him, the film and television, and then, starting with Arthur Miller, you can't get any better than that. And I've worked with, been very, very fortunate. And Pete Gurney, who I love dearly and miss him. He's rest in peace, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
I've had an opportunity to be in original plays of some of two of our greatest American playwrights. And
Absolutely. But I want to ask you, were the opportunities coming your way in Connecticut as a result of Mice and Men, or did you make the move into Manhattan to start pursuing work?
no, I'll tell you what, there's a whole section of life there that, circles back to Bridgeport, Connecticut. My friend Bill Walton tells me he went to Smith College to get his master's. And he said they're accepting male students in the graduate program. So I said, what do I have to do? I said, I'm not an Ivy League guy. And he said, no, just go there. They're looking for men for their graduate department. Go and audition. So I did. I did Lenny and a couple of other pieces, and they gave me a full scholarship and a stipend of $2,000 a year. And I got a wonderful education in the theater arts and met some incredible people. Maya Angelou, Elizabeth Hardwick, Harold Klorman, Leonard Berkman, who is the head of the department now, is just one of the greatest dramaturgs in the country. And it was a time of Billie Jean King against what's his name?
Bobby Fischer.
Bobby.
No. Oh God, someone's going to tell us. I'm thinking Bobby. It's right on the tip of.
Everybody is saying it now at home, but no, I can't remember. Anyway, it was those years, and so I got 2 years of training movement, actor movement with Rosalind DeMille, Agnes DeMille's sister, who was incredible and gave me all kinds of insights into where power comes from and how you can work on stage, how to use your body and your voice, and did some wonderful things there. Got to direct and
Bobby Riggs. Someone just told us. Thank you. Thank you.
Bobby Riggs. Thank you. Yeah.
Jack.
And that was quite a moment on Smith College campus, I'll tell you. I had a T-shirt at one point that said it was the 100th year anniversary of Smith College. That's how I met Maya Angelou. I was filming her when she was there, and we had T-shirts that said 100 years of women on top. Smith College. So anyway, after college, I liked it in Northampton. I loved Western Massachusetts and the Pioneer Valley, and I stayed there. Had super time. Taught part-time at UMass Amherst to non-theater students, which was great. In fact, at one point we had Theater X come in from Milwaukee, and there were two guys. One guy, I can't remember the name, but the other guy I remember is Willem Dafoe, and that was in the 80s. And they came and did a little play for us, and it was wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Just two guys in a trunk. But then I helped form a theater company called the No Theater Company, NO, because we didn't have a theater. We performed in places all over Northampton. It was, and then we found a place. Then Roy Faudree and Sheena C. Roy wrote a play called The Elephant Man. Now, this was not Bernard Pomerantz's play. This was before Bernard Pomerantz's play. Roy wrote this play from the pulp novel about Elephant Man. This is 1981, something like that. So we did it there. It was great. We I could describe every little bit of it, but we were in the cellar of an old movie theater that must have been 80 years old in Northampton, the oldest movie theater in Western Massachusetts for sure. Well, Roy found out that there was a basement. And when we cleared out all the basement, it had a dirt floor, but it also had about 12 railroad like seats that would sit 2 people, about 12 on each side, 10 on each side, dirt floor, and a stage with little, like a little thing in front with the footlights and everything.
Yeah.
In the back, there was a projector booth. And what those were the blue movies that they would play in the old days. You would go down to the cellar of the theater and watch blue movies or vaudeville or whatever.
Yeah.
And we took it over. We cleaned it up, took it over. It was a really long theater. And we used mirrors, and everybody played the Elephant Man at one point, which was a statement in itself. And then we took the show to New York. And that's when I said, well, I'll give it 10 years. If nothing happens for me in 10 years, I'm going to come back here and be a bartender or whatever I need to do to live here, right? So I was lucky. We went to the new theater. Bernard Pomerantz and his lawyers showed up and said, you had to change the name, and said, we're not changing the name, blah, blah, blah. We didn't have any lawyers. So they threatened it. We were at the Worcester Group.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We were at the Worcester, before it was known as the Worcester Group. I saw Spalding Gray do Tooth of Crime there, and that's why I wrote my thesis on Sam Shepard when I was in graduate school. But Roy solved the problem with the lawyers by cut out a little piece of cardboard and put "the" on it and stuck it up in front of Elephant Man in our little shingle out on Worcester Street. And that was the end of that.
And how long did the show run?
Oh, it was a summer thing, it like weeks. I forget, we'd have times there were 6 people in the audience,
No, while all of this was going on, did you have your equity card, or did that happen?
No, I haven't got any equity card yet. When I moved in and I started studying with Jack Garfine at the Actors and Directors Lab, Harold Klorman's Actors and Directors Lab on 42nd Street. And along with Dana Delaney was in my class at that point. And Dana and I were asked by Jack. Jack was producing a new Arthur Miller play called The American Clock. And he gave Dana and I an opportunity to audition. Now, neither of us, I don't know if Dana had an equity card at the time, but I didn't. I was working at the River Cafe underneath the Brooklyn Bridge and having a great time. But we had in a moment there, and Jack said, well, would you like to audition? I said, are you kidding? And they gave me the script. It was wonderful. And I was reading for the lead. I said, what? Right. And I went in and read, and they gave me an offer of assistant stage manager and understudying all the male roles. There were 8 males in the cast playing about 24 different roles. So, but I got my equity card. Now they moved the show, got a good review from Frank, off-Broadway, moved it to the Spoleto Theater Festival in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, very well, my home state.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
And we opened there. Peter Evans was in the lead. The cast included John Randolph, Joan Copeland, Arthur's sister.
Yes. Still kicking, doing very well. Do you stay in touch with Joan?
Pardon me?
Are you still in touch with Joan?
No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I do say hello to her through other people. But JT Walsh was in that company. No, a lot of great people. But so Peter was sick. Opening night, he went on and he was sick. And come to find out it was AIDS.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning, sort of the beginning of the pandemic. And we didn't know it. We just thought, well, he's got 110 temperature. Yeah, he can't go on. He couldn't go on the second and third performances, which was a matinee, a 2-show matinee, and then on Saturday, and then a show on Sunday. So I went on for the lead for those 3 shows. Now, thank God I was so fired and wired up. I knew every word of that script, it seemed, by that time. Watched every rehearsal. So I went on, and it was they took me through some blocking. Dan Sullivan was directing at the time, and he had to go back to New York. He wasn't sticking around. And I got standing ovations 3 nights in a row. And it got some nice press from the Charleston newspaper. And I got a call from the River Cafe. And they said, Bill, you're taking so much time off to do this theater. I think we're going to have to let you go. I said, that's okay. I quit. So, and it really lit a fire under me and under my career. Obviously, word gets out that I saved the show for three shows. And what Jack was trying to do was skirt around a lot of things with understudy playing all those male roles, So we went to Broadway, and unfortunately, Dan and Arthur had creative differences, and Vivian Madelon came in to direct the Broadway show in Baltimore, and he had just directed Mornings at 7 and won a Tony, so they thought he was the good guy. But unfortunately, the show was about the Depression and the family. So I think part of it was Dan wanted the show to revolve around the Depression. And I think Arthur wanted it to revolve around the family. So they were butting heads over which avenue, which concept they were going to embrace, right?
Was the script changing a lot during that time frame, or was it just in terms of the way it was being directed?
More the way it was being directed. There were some changes, and Arthur was there with Inga, his wife, a wonderful photographer, world famous photographer, and still trying to get some of those pictures. But it was, and then we went to Broadway, closed in 13 shows. And that was my Broadway beginning and end, And
then obviously, as you mentioned earlier, word of mouth starts building up. At this point, where I know you had given yourself the 10-year mark, but were you very ambitious in terms of the way that you pursued your career, or based on the connections that you had made up to this point, were things starting to come your way?
A little bit of both. When it all happened very quickly after Miami Vice. After I did the pilot for Miami Vice, I was doing all theater. Before then, I think I did one.
Let me ask you before you move on: was it an easy transition for you to go into film?
Acting is acting. I brought it all down, and that's all I was concerned about. Anthony Carter was the director who played one of the basketball players in White Shadow. Remember Ken Howard's show?
Yes.
God bless my good friend Ken Howard.
Wow.
Who also, I went to graduate school with his brother, Don Howard.
Wow.
Who was just as good looking and just as talented as he was. But anyway, I forgot where I was.
No, you were in Miami Vice.
Well, going to Miami Vice, that was, it was just, I had one very emotional scene that became kind of like the key scene for that pilot, the memorable scene. But up until then, Don was terrific to work with, and I was, Sandra Santiago and I became good friends. We're still in touch, and John Deal. So coming back from that, I started to do more theater, but it was the first time I'd been recognized by a New York cabbie after Miami Vice. So that was pretty cool.
That's great when that happens.
Yeah.
Well,
that was.
Before we are going to run out of time eventually. Obviously, as I said in my introduction, I'm about celebrating your body of work. The body of work is all there. Go to the IMDb page, go to Wikipedia to learn more about the other roles and the career and everything. But I want to ask you before we wrap everything up, because this conversation that you and I are having, you will continue this conversation on Cameo. And if you can explain to everyone what Cameo is and how they can come and find you there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Cameo is a new app that people can get in touch with me, and I will make a video or a audio message for them for their phone or for their social media accounts, whatever it may be. And hopefully I got some Nero Wolfe fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
Some Life Goes On fans, Crime Story, Miami Vice, Independence Day, Air Force One, November Man, the best film experience I ever had, working with Pierce and in Serbia and traveling to Croatia with my wife, which was our Croatian vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm doing. I Cameo and Star Trek Deep Space Nine were kind enough to give me these cards.
Oh, that's great.
If you remember, there's a 2-part episode called Past Tense, which is a very prophetic Deep Space Nine episode about sanctuary cities for the homeless, for people, for indigents, for the undesirables, sanctuary cities. Now, if Trump had been elected another 4 years, maybe another 14 years on his timeline, we would have had sanctuary cities. I thought it was very, very prophetic. And it was the only time that Star Trek went back in time.
Wow.
So, but it was back in time, but it was forward of our present time. So it was a very, very interesting episode, and the top 10 episodes for Star Trek and Deep Space Nine. So, and that's a great family of actors in that family. Let me tell you, there's some marvelous people, and we've just lost Renee Aubergenois.
Wow.
And that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to shout out to all the survivors of all my friends and colleagues who are not with us any longer. Crime Story.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I had a mentor, and she said that when you step out on stage, when you step in front of the camera, you're carrying the mantle of every person that's gone before you. And I truly believe that. And I think of that before every show that I sit down to do here. I want to ask you, Bill, before we wrap everything up here. And first of all, thanks again for being here today. As
my distinct pleasure.
Well, looking back on your career in this business, the business has changed a lot since you first came into the business. What are some of the things that you love about things that have changed? Things that you really don't like that you still resist? And what do you miss most beyond the obvious of the people that are no longer here with us, as far as the changes in the business?
Well, I miss doing 8 shows a week. That was fun. But what's changed possibly is we've given people an opportunity to too much of an opportunity to express things that have nothing to do with art, or they're wasting my time. and I you know, you have to. I just think it's, you know, everybody thinks it's easy, and when and at some points, yeah, it is easy, but you have to earn the ease that you find later on in life. I found that now that I'm older and experienced in the business, there were so many times that I wish I just would have relaxed, and it was hard to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, with the and now I go back and you know, I think I put too much pressure on myself at times that might have got in my way. But I think a lot of younger people now are using the media in a self-serving kind of way. I mean, we're all, as actors, we have to be somewhat self-serving and self-promoting. But now people, you know, if you wear a certain product, or if you have a certain product, or it's all around the marketing of this and that, you know, how about we talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
How about we talk about what's going on up here? Because there are so many mental problems. I mean, you know, and I don't think it's helping when people, I mean, when we train to do what we do, we think and we break it down. We break things down and we peel an onion. We find the center of things. You know, with now everything, the technology is moving so fast that you can just, you know, a lot of the work has been done for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know, you have to at least appreciate the work that was put in to make it easy for you.
Absolutely.
So when people get on, and now everybody's got an opportunity. I mean, look at the voiceover world.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can submit their voiceover.
That's right.
And if you got an open call, you're on, you know, you have an opportunity. But opportunity, you know, I mean, it's a difficult subject, Richard, you know, because every generation has their way of changing, dealing with, creating their own reality.
Mm.
And my reality was, and my dreams were based on stories and people that I met.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like John Randolph, Jack Garfien, Arthur Miller, to sit at the table. I was having dinner, you know, Gurney asked me out to his farm for dinner one weekend after 8 shows, and we were doing Far East at Lincoln Center. And he said, "Oh, I hope you don't mind. I've invited Arthur and Bill to come over." So, Arthur Miller, yeah.
Arthur Miller.
And Bill, Bill Styron. Yeah. I didn't have a lot to say at that dinner table, I'll tell you that.
Wow.
But
a lot of us need to just pause and listen.
Yeah.
That's the best right there.
Yeah, Arthur told us some wonderful stories about Saigon when he was there. He was there during the fall of Saigon. And we mentioned Maryland a little bit, you know. It's kind of nice. But you know, I go from their perspective. When I meet Morris Karnofsky, I think, man, this is the legacy. He created this. He made this possible for me. And I look at his body of work, and it's so filled with commitment and promise. There was rough times, really rough times. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the McCarthy hearings, you know, communism, you know, he was subjected to a lot of hate, you know, and it wasn't bigotry and hate. It was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the people who we stand on the shoulders of. And Norman Lloyd, my good friend.
Wow.
106.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know.
I went to his 104th and his 105th.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, just before COVID, and she has since passed away, but I went out to California. Marge Champion was a dear friend of mine. She was 101. And she had a lot to say about what was going on in the world at that time.
Yeah.
She was still sharp as a tack. So, Bill, I want to thank you so much for being here. We are at the end of our show. I want to respect your time and everyone else's time as well. I hope you all enjoyed today's show. If you did, please subscribe to Richard Skipper Celebrates on YouTube.
Yeah, do that.
If you haven't done so already, listen to Bill. Hit the like button if you like today's show.
Yeah, hit the like button.
Tell your friends. Let's help spread the word.
If you have friends.
If you have friends. Bill, you are the best at what you do, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. All my Bridgeport homies.
But before you go, I want to say, you know, as I said at the beginning of the show, again, as my dear friend David Friedman says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. I end every one of my shows by asking everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list and go to the third name that pops up and reach out to that person and just say, I'm calling to say, how are you? Not an email, not a text message, not a private message, a phone call. Mm-hmm. You never know what someone else is going through. And Bill, once again, thank you for the gifts that you've given to the world and that you will continue to give. Seriously, you always have a place here anytime you want to come and talk about anything. And I want to hear about those twins in Las Vegas at some point.
Oklahoma.
But I'm going to give you the final word. Anything that you want to say about anything that we talked about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to put out to everyone now. And everyone, remember, go to Cameo and look for Bill Smitrovich.
Thanks. You know, my friends and I we're trying to work on a show called The Write-In. And The Write-In will be a show across all three medias. And once a week, we'll get together and have a conversation amongst Americans. Now, we are looking for investors at this time. And if you are interested in getting involved in a show that brings all of us together without so much judgment, but a common ground,
mm-hmm.
Then we'd like to have this show be a part of a weekly diet of encouraging news, information you can use, uplifting and wonderful stories about what is happening that you don't hear about on the regular news, mm-hmm. and find out where you can get help if you need help. We're going to incorporate robots to make it as, let's put it this way, not inhuman, but non-human at times.
Mm-hmm.
So we can deal with what the facts are. So the facts will always be important. Never forget that.
Amen. Thank you. Make it a better day tomorrow, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Love all. Be kind.